So, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at a AAA, although this question is very much relevant for AA students. So if you're a AA student, ensure that you listen to this question very, very keenly. I've already sent the answer to you, so you don't have to do any major write-ups. Of course, you can jot down a few points here and there, but I mean, you're sorted out in terms of the write-up. So here I am. So I will display the question paper. I will display the question paper. So that is the question here. This question was tested on August 2023. It was question number 1. So these questions, they are scenario questions. Always understand the requirement first. So read the requirement first. So like now here we are told, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss 6 deficiencies in CMP Limited's internal controls with the associated risk for each deficiency. So it means deficiency, that will be a mark, and a related risk, another mark. All right. So for you to get 2 marks per point, you must give a deficiency and you must give us associated risk. Great. So already now the question is very well embedded, in my brain. So as I read the question itself, I'll be able to pinpoint answers as I go down slowly. So we are told, my good students here, that CMP is a production company that employs 50 workers. This is not that small. This is a big company. The company has the following payroll procedures. The factory foreman interviews applicants and on the basis of interview, either hires or rejects them. Just a foreman. Not HR. No segregation of duties. This guy is interviewing them and is going ahead to make the decision to hire or reject them. When applicants are hired, they fill in an employee's withholding exemption certificate W4 form, and again do what here? They forward it to the foreman. Ladies and gentlemen, we have what we call aggregation. In audit, we have aggregation. Aggregation basically is when you put so many activities on one person. That is wrong. What in audit would want to see is what we call segregation. Would want to see what we call segregation. To segregate now is the opposite of aggregation. Those are so many activities. I expect, ladies and gentlemen, in this case here, the HR person to be involved. The foreman also has some duty to do there. Perhaps this foreman, he should be at the interview panel. All right. These other certificates they are signing there, we expect even the accounts office to be involved. Not everything to be done by one person. So already I'm able to pick some deficiencies there. Aggregation is a big deficiency. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you're reading this. We are told here, the foreman indicates the hourly rate of pay for the new employee in the W4 form and then forwards it to a payroll clerk as a notice that the worker has been employed. The foreman verbally advises the payroll department of any adjustments to the hourly rate of pay. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of auditing and assurance, we expect every instruction in this case here to be written, because that will be a very good source of evidence in future, just in case any dispute arises. So I see another danger here. In this case here, these verbal communications. A supply of blank time cards is kept in a box near the entrance to the factory. Each worker takes a time card on Monday morning, fills in his name, and notes in pencil their daily arrival and departure times. At the end of the week, the workers drop the time cards in a box near the factory door. I can see so many dangers, ladies and gentlemen, as regards to this. The first thing that I'm able to see here is the concept of buddy punching. We call it in auditing, we call this one here buddy punching. Is there somebody who has ever heard of this? Buddy is a friend, eh? That in this case here, a friend of yours can easily clock in time for you on your behalf. Buddy punching. And then, of course, in this case here, these guys are using pencil here. Yeah, so pencil, in this case here, this will be very easy for anybody to do what here to erase. And of course, if they asked us to give them opinions, honestly, even these handwritten clock cards, they are not the best. Right now, in this case here, we expect what we call automation. We expect what we call automation. We expect in this case here people to come to the workplaces, even how they enter the door. In this case here, they should be able to put their fingerprints or even face. Yeah, you should be able to have a face detector that you come, they see this is our employee, you get in. Once in this case here, that system picks you up, then the system itself should be able to always give us the time you came in, the time you left, whether you're a person in this case who likes taking so many breaks, we should be able to have now that report. The way it is right now is not very, very good because really this is very manual. Very manual. And I would want to do a check-in. Are you able to, ladies and gentlemen, hear Mwalimu very well? Are you able to understand my discussions? I would want to see whether we are together. Maybe my microphone is even muted and I'm here shouting by myself, which will be very, very bad. Grace, yes. Thank you, Marceline. Great. So let's continue. Thank you, Mugendi. We are together. You know, some of these things, they really give you guys very easy questions. Even when a student comes like after an exam and they tell me that Mwalimu have failed, it can't be audit and assurance. It can't be advanced auditing and assurance. This is a very basic paper, very, very basic paper. We are told here, each Monday morning, the completed time cards are taken from the box by a payroll clerk. One of the payroll clerks then records the payroll transactions using a computer system which captures all information for the payroll journal as calculated by that very clerk, and automatically updates the employee's earnings, records, and the general ledger. Again, that clerk is being given too much work. Employees are automatically removed from the payroll when they fail to return in a time card. Yeah, when they fail to return in a time card, they're automatically, in this case here, removed from the payroll. So they don't get like their payment at the end of the month. There could be reasons why somebody has not, ladies and gentlemen, brought in their time card on this Monday or whichever day you tell them. Perhaps this employee in this case here fell sick. So there should be a process really of removing somebody from a payroll. And that is why we would want this information to be basically captured by systems. The payroll checks are manually signed by the chief accountant and given to that foreman who was already having so much work. So you're giving this foreman kind of a demigod position. You would want, in this case, your employees to even worship him, quote and quote. Because if he's the one who is employing them, he's the one who is seen around moving with checks, the foreman distributes the checks to the employees and arranges for the delivery of the checks to those who are absent. The payroll bank account is reconciled by the chief accountant, who also prepares the various payroll tax reports. You can see in this case there is that element of what here, aggregation. So they want us to discuss 6 deficiencies in CMP Limited's internal controls with the associated risk for each deficiency. So, ladies and gentlemen, you just allow me to read the answers here because already I've discussed most of that. All right. Great. So we are told here deficiency, like now lack of segregation of duties in hiring and a pay rate setting. So the person who is hiring is the same person who is even setting the rates and doing many other things. Explanation, it's always good to structure a question like this. Explanation, what's wrong with this? The foreman hires and sets pay rate without HR or management oversight. Yeah, this is really, really bad. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, we are human beings. And human beings, in this case here, generally, we are weak. So if you're giving this foreman all the powers, he happens to be a gentleman, I'm assuming. Yeah, and is the one in this case who is hiring, and at the same time, in this case here, setting up the pay. If somebody, a good lady, comes and smiles at this guy, chances are he can easily give a higher pay. Chances are he may not even consider the technical competence of this girl. Yeah, so the associated risk, what could go wrong? Hiring ghost employees, favorism, inflated salaries. Once you write like that, ladies and gentlemen, you are done. You are done. You are done. Yeah, there'll be favorism here. Now, the next deficiency or weakness, remember deficiencies are weaknesses. Verbal pay rate adjustments. Salary, what could go wrong here? Salary changes are communicated verbally, not in writing. It's an explanation. All right. Sorry. Yeah. Then in this case here, we have the risk. The risk is unauthorized pay increases, misinterpretation of changes, no audit trail. As auditors, when we come there, if somebody got an increment, then we expect to see that in writing. And if, for example, this person got like a very material increase, perhaps in this case here, they changed to a very bigger role like a director. Some positions we even expect to have what we call board approvals. So those board approvals, we should even be able to see this in minutes. Yeah, then we have here loose time card management, the loose cards, the loose cards, the loose cards. This is disturbing. Yeah, the loose cards. So the loose cards, what about them, ladies and gentlemen? So these loose cards, loose time card management, in this case here, the explanation is that blank time cards are unsecured. You can imagine it's even the employees themselves who are picking them. So employees will pick them, yeah, and they manually fill them in. So in this case here, what is the danger? What is the risk? Ghost hours could be put in there. Then we have the concept of buddy punching. Yeah, buddy punching can easily have, ladies and gentlemen, your friend doing this filling for you. All right. Which of course will lead to claiming hours not worked. No review or approval of time cards. The time cards are processed by payroll clerk without supervisor review. Without supervisor review. Yeah, so in this case, inflicted hours could go undetected. We could have very easily an inaccurate payroll. Inaccurate payroll. Let me just check the charts here. Yeah, you're right. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Yes, 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 yes. We shall overcome. Yeah, great. So no review. So you see this person, basically the clerk, they just go pick those cards that have been filled by these employees and dropped inside a box, and he automatically enters that information in a computer. There is nobody who is even checking whether the time is good. There is not well captured. There is nobody in this case who is approving. All right. Then we have in this case here no review, approval of time cards. Yeah, we have already looked at this. Automatic employee removal. Automatic employee removal. Employees are automatically removed from payroll if a time card is missed. The risk here is that delayed payments to legitimate staff, employee dissatisfaction, inaccurate head count. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't tell me that simply because I was not able to drop my clock card into that bin that you are now holding on to my salary. Maybe I was sick. So the risk here, ladies and gentlemen, is that there will be delays in paying, in this case here, legitimate employees, which will lead to demotivation, employee dissatisfaction. The foreman again here is the one who is distributing the checks. Yeah, buddy. You see, buddy is friend. Thank you very much for explaining that. Buddy is a friend. So for example, if Mugendi is my friend, this happens quite a lot. Yeah, even at RCM, before we automate the system for our lecturers, a lecturer could easily, when we used to have physical classes, a lecturer could easily miss, and then we have a friend of theirs just signing manually, and they make sure that their signatures are like their initials. So somebody will have like JA. They don't want to put in very, very complicated signatures so that next time, whenever they miss, somebody is able to go there and sign on their behalf. It's called buddy punching. So buddy doing that punch, yeah, to uplift you, yeah, a favor, but a disservice to the organization. A disservice to the organization. The foreman distributes checks. The foreman involved in hiring also distributes payroll checks, misappropriation of checks for ghost employees or absent staff. Yeah. So in this case here, remember that guy, if he did take some employees who are ghost workers, and again, you're giving him an opportunity to distribute those checks, he'd go and give those ghost people. And these ghost people now will be able to bank, and then they give him a kickback. Chief accountant reconciles and prepares, tax reports. The same person who signs checks reconciles payroll bank account wrong. So there could be possibility of concealment of fraud, e.g. ghost employee payments through reconciliation. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I believe you've been able to pick something out of that which can be helpful to you in terms of how you answer your exam. So if you allow me, I'll be able to go to part B of that same question. So part B of this question, ladies and gentlemen, was really an interesting question, a very easy question. Very easy question. So we are required here to prepare a detailed audit program indicating the procedures you would use to satisfy yourself of the accuracy of the cash at bank balances on the client's financial statements. Discuss the propriety or otherwise of reversing the indicated amount of outstanding checks as at 31st December 2022. So, ladies and gentlemen, whenever they talk about the procedures, audit procedures, I'm always reminded of my young man at home. A, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, O, U. Do you remember those procedures? Thank you very much, Joy. I can see already you are thinking the same. Yeah, so there will be a lot of analytical procedure, a lot of doing comparisons of the figures, a lot of ratio calculations, and observation of the trends. We have A stands for what here? Inquiries, and the third party confirmation. Actually, somebody should be able to do me a favor by writing all of them down. Yeah, audit procedures. Basically, you think about audit procedures. We call them audit procedures or substantive tests or tests of details. Test of details. Somebody should be able to do me a favor by writing what that R, A, E, O, U stands for. Write them in one place. On one place, you say R stands for this, A stands for this. As they write like that, perhaps we should get a good student who is a good storyteller to give us a nice story. CPA students are too serious with life. I think I'm the only person in this case who is really outgoing here. Yeah, thank you so much. Already, they have done this. So we have analytical review, inquiries, inspection, observation. There will be a lot of recalculation. So for example, ladies and gentlemen here, you'd use to satisfy yourself of the accuracy of the cash at bank balances. So I'm able to see this cash, ladies and gentlemen, I will be able to take, for example, the opening balance last year. Yeah, get in this case here the cash flows, for example, from the cash flow statement. See in this case here what came in from operations, investing activities. There will be a lot for me to be able to see the cash at bank. Yeah, I'll be able to do a bank reconciliation statement myself as an auditor. When I do a bank reconciliation statement, when I do a bank reconciliation and the accountant had done it, then I'm doing what we call reperformance. You see the last one, you guys are not getting it right. The last one is recalculation, and reperformance. Recalculation and reperformance. Yeah, somebody had written it here very well. Recalculation and reperformance. So I'll be able to do a lot of bank reconciliations, and that will be a reperforming activity because somebody had performed that. All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, anything to do with the cash at bank, I will have to do inquiries. I would want in this case here to talk to the management. First of all, I get an assurance from the management that whatever figure that is on their financial statements is representing a true position. So I would want them to give me a letter, could be an email, which I'll print and put it in the audit file as a working paper. Yeah, I would want them to take it upon themselves here to confirm that whatever I'm seeing on the financial statements as cash at bank is the exact cash that existed, at the year end. It doesn't stop there. Remember this inquiry, this A stands for inquiry, and the third party confirmations. So the third party here, it won't stop there. You know, auditing is a very, very interesting thing. And that is why I would want all my students here to be auditors. Yeah, you need to be auditors because you get to know so much in life. It doesn't stop there. So in this case here, you have, as we talked to the directors, they've been able to put ink on paper regarding what was outstanding there. Then I asked them for permission to talk to the bank manager. Yeah, I have to do a third-party confirmation because for us, third-party evidence is more reliable. So I talk to the bank manager, I write a letter to them for them to confirm to us as auditors that for sure how much was existing. So you see, even before I start reading the question, already myself now as a good auditor, I've started reasoning. I've started in this case even compiling answers on my head, which of course I'm jotting down somewhere on my booklet. You don't write on cashnet paper. Writing on cashnet paper is an exam malpractice. So you are told here, you are the auditor of flour mint. I love mint. Every day I take mint from 𝐚𝐥𝐿 tea gold. 𝐚𝐥𝐿 gold tea mint. Very, very good. Yeah, a company engaged in growing and exporting flowers. Assume that when you arrived at your client's office on 11th January 2023 to begin the audit for the year ending 31st December 2022, you discovered that the client had been drawing checks as the creditor's invoices became due, but not necessarily mailing them. So the checks are drawn, but not presented to the owners. He's acknowledging liability, but he has not given those checks to the owners for the owners to present them to the bank. Very interesting. So in that case, ladies and gentlemen, I can see a possibility of cash at bank being overstated. Because should this check, if they had been issued, then money would have been withdrawn. He states that these December 2022 dated checks had been entered in the cash disbursement book and charged to the respective creditors' accounts in December because the checks were pre-numbered. But why are you not presenting them? Again, I see another risk. There is a risk that these guys going concern may not be very, very good. That's why they don't want to pay their creditors promptly. Maybe they don't even have that enough cash in the bank. Heavy sales collections permitted him to mail the checks before your arrival. There was a heavy sales collection, perhaps 1 week. Yeah, once he saw that money now is enough, so he was able to email now these checks to the owners before you arrive. The client then wishes to adjust the cash balance and accounts payable as at 31st December 2022 by 27,600,000 because the cash account had a credit balance. The client is also reluctant to reflect an overdraft in the financial statements. This looks funny. Yeah. Because if he owed these guys genuinely 27 million instead of him pretending by writing checks on their favor and not presenting those checks to them, he would rather have gone to the bank and asked for an OD and paid those guys, because these particular checks, ladies and gentlemen, were due. So they want us to prepare, first of all, a detailed audit program indicating the procedures you would use to satisfy yourself of the accuracy of the cash at bank balances on the client's financial statements. Remember here, they're not talking about many things. They simply want an audit program indicating the procedures you would use to satisfy yourself. So those are really about the RAEOs. Like this thing of inspection, inspecting documents. There are so many things that I would have to inspect, including inspection of the creditors' ledgers. I would want to look at, for example, the first week. If I'm coming there on the first week of, say, 2023, you know what I'm doing? Audit for the year ending 2022, right? So of course I'm coming in after the year end. So I would want to see for sure these checks that have been now drawn, now that there is some money there, have they been presented? And if they've been presented, have some of them cleared? Because it could also be even cheating me. So there is a lot of inspections. You'll have to look at the bank. You'll have, even on a sample basis, you would want to look at the invoices. Yeah, the invoices in this case here that we received for purpose of paying those creditors. I would want to inspect. You know, I'm inspecting. From inspections, that thing of check this to confirm this, check this. As an auditor, you must always keep on talking about that often. So it allow me to look at the answers, and gentlemen. Yeah, great. Now we are at 81. This number is big. This number is big, very big. Ooh, great. Confirmations, check, review. That's the language I would want you to be mentioning there. So to verify Flower Mint's Limited's cash balance as at 31st December 02, auditor should perform the following key procedures. Bank confirmations: send direct requests to banks to confirm balances, loans, and other arrangements as of year end. Bank reconciliation: obtain and reperform the client's bank reconciliations for December, just 1 month. Remember us, it's about sampling. We don't do like for the whole year. For December 2022, verifying all reconciling items. Cutoff. Remember cutoff, we do cutoff at towards the end of the year and immediately after the year end. We have to look at so many transactions there just to ensure that whatever transactions are captured in 2022 in the financial statements, for sure, they belong to 2022. Yeah, obtain a bank statement directly from the bank for the period immediately after year end. Yeah, for us, we normally do it 1 week. So first 15 to 20 days of January 2023. So obtain a bank statement directly from the bank for the period immediately after year end. Yeah, then what do you do with that? So trace all outstanding checks, including the 27.6 million unmailed ones, from the December reconciliation to their clearance on this cut-off statement. Trace December deposits in transit to their clearance on the cut-off statement. You may not be able to remember this language exactly, but ladies and gentlemen, cut-off is one of those financial statement assertions. This is something that should be able to worry you as an auditor. Yeah, because in this case here, many people, please listen and listen to me in terms of cutoff. What do you always experience, especially regarding sales? You will get somebody calls the organization, say on the 31st December 2022. We're talking about 2022 here. So they just email or they call that, hey, we want you to sell to us this number of units, like that. Now, because the directors here would want to cheat and say that their 2022 year was so good in terms of sales, they would want to book this verbally ordered sale into 2022. And yet they know very well that these goods will be delivered in 2023. So the cutoff normally happens. When you see like now, these particular people in this case here, they have received, ladies and gentlemen, genuine invoices from creditors. They know that these creditors are supposed to be paid in 2022. All right. So they have written checks, but they are holding on to them. There must be a cutoff procedure. They must, in this case here, be wanting to overstate, in this case here, creditors, or understate them. There must be something that they are up to, simply because they don't have that cash. All right. So whenever you hear about anything towards the end of the year, please don't fail to mention cut off. And how do you check cut off? You simply look at if it sales, like sales for the last week, the month of December. How was it? You look at also sales for the first week of 2023, January. Yeah, you look like say 10 days, 10 days, 5 the other year, 5 this new year. Just observe what happened. Observe the bank statement, what is coming there. Were there check starts drawn around this time? Keep a keen eye on end of year transactions and the beginning of year transactions to see whether there is confusion about transactions that are supposed to be falling on each other's period. Inspect emailed and mailed checks. Physically examine, physically ask for them. Yeah, because the inspection is a key audit procedure. So inspect and mail checks, physically examine the 27.6 million and mail checks. Verify their December dates and confirm that they were recorded in the cash disbursements book. Because of course, when you are giving out checks, you must record. Review subsequent bank activity. Check January 2023 bank statements to confirm when the unmailed checks were actually cleared. Then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, as I told you, whenever you are answering such questions, you must always try to mix these issues in a very, very good way. Never forget, ladies and gentlemen, to always think about the financial statements assertions. Financial statements, they must feature somewhere. Financial statement assertions. Do you remember them? Once you remember these financial statement assertions, and then you have in this case, ladies and gentlemen, the audit procedures, you'll never go wrong. So financial statement assertions, there are students here who have really benefited out of my classes. I've taught 38 lessons and they've been able to attend all of them. So they know all these acronyms. Yes. So it is ACCA cover P. Yeah. So for example, we have the last P is for presentation and disclosures. Presentation and disclosure. I expect a good ninja to type for me all the others. So presentation and disclosures. So under presentation and disclosure, you can see a very good point here, ladies and gentlemen. Ensure cash is correctly presented on the financial statements. And any restrictions, e.g. overdrafts, are appropriately disclosed. So I would expect in this case here a note in the disclosures where they should even be able to talk about their going concern. Why were they not releasing creditors' checks? That one I would expect an explanation. And if they're not disclosing that, that can even make me issue a qualified report. Because 27.6 million, I want to believe this is a material transaction. Of course, they never gave me their total sales, but holding on to checks worth 27.6, this is material. It could also be pervasive. You may even get like their sales is like say 100 million. So you see, it's either material and pervasive means very, very big. Very, very big. If it's pervasive, of course, I'll be able to issue what we call an adverse opinion. But this one, of course, I can see it and I'll be able to issue, in this case, if they don't adjust. Remember, if they adjust, that's okay. If they don't adjust, then I'll be able to issue what we call a qualified except for opinion. So I will say the books of this company called CMP, the financial statements of CMP, portray a true and a fair view, except for the fact that the creditors who are paid their money who are supposed to be paid their money by this date were not paid. So I see a going concern issue. Yeah. I could also come and capture it as an emphasis of a matter paragraph. Yeah, I can give everything okay, but in the EOM, I'll be able to issue an emphasis, even especially they have disclosed. But I'll come to that topic. I haven't yet reached there, but that is really, really important for you to at least master. And here they have not exhausted all the procedures. They have not exhausted all the procedures. The procedures are very, very many. We have RAEOU, analytical procedures. For example, I would want to inspect the creditor's account. Look at the creditors, the payables of last year versus payables of this year, and observe the trend. Did this kind of a matter, again, happen, for example, last year? So there's a lot of analysis. I would want to calculate the creditor days, the payables days. That's an analysis. If payable days last year was, say, 30, and the payable days this year are 45, I'll be able to raise a red audit flag. Yeah, why are things not moving? Is it that you have changed the policy? And if you change the credit policy, am I able to get it and see for sure that you've moved your credit policy from, say, 30 days to 60 days? I would expect in this case here to be given even a creditor's aging report for inspection purposes. So when you talk of RAEOU, so in this case here, we have even this inquiries. These inquiries, I would want to do a circularization letter, and talk to some creditors on a sample basis. And the circularization letter, ladies and gentlemen, that we always talk about is what we call positive. Always, whenever you're mentioning this to demonstrate broad and deep understanding of the subject, talk of positive confirmations. Positive confirmations. So the positive confirmations, ladies and gentlemen, you need to tell the creditors. You need to tell the creditors. Yeah, you ask the creditors to confirm their balances with us. Yeah, how much do we owe you? Please reply. So remember, if it's positive, whether they agree with the figure you have quoted there, you will tell them that RCM owes you 10 million. Please confirm. So even if they agree, they have to reply back. We agree, we are owed 10 million. We disagree, we are owed 13 million. That is called positive confirmations. Whenever you require those people to always do what here, to always reply regardless of whether they are agreeing or not. Yeah, remember we also have what we call negative confirmations. So on negative confirmations, they only reply back to us if the figure we have given them is wrong. But you see, at times we will send a letter which doesn't even reach the recipient. So if we send a letter which doesn't reach the recipient, us here as auditors will be thinking, hey, we never got any reply. The creditors outside there are very happy, but that is not the case. That is why we always nowadays talk about what here, positive confirmations, because even nowadays, these circularizations are done by systems. You simply get your ERP by a press of a button. Every creditor or even receivables, they get an email. You know, initially is when we were looking at postage fees. A lot of inconveniences. Nowadays, it's about email. Whether you agree or not, please reply to our email. So the assertions are only used in financial. They are called financial statement assertions. Yeah, when they give us these financial statements, they are asserting, that the figures there are accurate. They are complete. They have been able to observe cutoff. Yeah, we have issues to do with the allocations. that they have done allocations properly, classifications properly. All right. We have occurrence. If you remember those things, that whatever you see in the financial statements indeed occurred. But we know most of these directors out here are thieves. Over 70%, over 70%, ladies and gentlemen, over 70%, ladies and gentlemen, of directors outside here, they are thieves, or leaders outside here, they are thieves. So they'll tell us that this occurred, but it never occurred, that they are valued correctly. So whenever you hear the word assertion, an assertion is a belief. What these directors want us to believe on the financial statements figures given to us as auditors, and of course the stakeholders in general. Remember, they always use these financial statements to do what we call window dressing. The house inside may be very dirty, having thieves, but the curtains, they put curtains of 100,000. So they dress up things. You think that things are very, very good. All right. Yeah. All right. Great. You guys are chatting a lot. You're confusing now my trail of thoughts. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Great. We shall overcome. Only questions regarding the session is what you ask there. Any other thing not allowed when Mwalimu is talking. Remember, my man, maybe you guys don't know. Very few men are able to multitask. We're not able to multitask. We were created that simple. You know, if it's a girl can do so many things at the same time as we cannot. You can't even get a man who is able to chew a big G while crossing a road. It's very, very hard. It's one thing at a time. So we shall overcome. We shall overcome. All right. So in terms of R, A, E, or U, don't forget to mention those things, including checking segregation over payables. Yeah. Who is doing this payables statement? Who is in charge of paying them? Because when you start seeing things not moving around, there must be something that is happening. There must be something that is happening. Those are the languages that I would expect to see you using, ladies and gentlemen, in those 5 questions. In all those 5 questions, I would want to see that kind of language happening there. All right. We shall overcome. So we look at the last part of this question, ladies and gentlemen, and then now our 1 hour will be over. We talk about other papers, but we must also talk about how will the school benefit out of this program. You know, we are also in business, right? And the people who should be able to get these free classes are basically those people who have paid RCM, or those students who paid normal fees to RCM, them they are legitimately here. But the others, they're also legitimately here, but now moving forward, we must come up with a fees for them. I hope that is a good language. So that when I shout like this, and my madam from the other side, she's able to hear what I'm talking about, the way I'm shouting. When she asks, I'll be able to have a sweet to give her. A good chocolate to give her, isn't it? So look at part 2. Discuss the propriety, that is the truthfulness or otherwise, of reversing the indicated amount of outstanding checks as at 31st December 2022. But now remember, these guys were paid in January 2023. And these guys would want to change the figure. Yeah, the client wishes to adjust the cash balance and accounts payable as at this by 27,600,000 because the cash account had a credit balance. The client is also reluctant to reflect the overdraft in the financial statements. So discuss the truthfulness or otherwise of reversing the indicated amount of outstanding checks as at this date. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow them to change that particular amount, yeah, and they show that they had paid, you know, they want you to say that that amount now is paid in December 2022. 2022. That is wrong. It wasn't paid. Remember, us would want financial statements that portray a true and a fair view, truthfulness, truthful man. So in December 2022, ladies and gentlemen, those figures had not been paid. That will be very wrong. If they do that, then their payables will be understated. That will not be the correct position. So then how do you answer this? Of course, that is wrong. In accordance to ISS, IFRS, ISAs, that will be very, very wrong. That will be wrong accounting, wrong accounting. So I already have the answer with me here. Okay, so propriety of reversing the 27.6 and emailed checks, reversing the 27.6 in unemailed checks is not appropriate. Reasons: accrual. Under accrual accounting, expenses and liabilities are recognized when incurred. By drawing and recording the checks in December 2022, Flour Mint Limited effectively recognized its obligations to creditors. We owe these people. We owed them by that time. Accurate financial picture: reversing these entries would overstate cash, make the cash balance appear higher than it actually is, understate accounts payable, conceal legitimate liabilities. This provides a misleading view of the company's true financial position and liquidity, hiding the overdraft. Audit opinion: as auditors, we must ensure financial statements present a true and fair view. Allowing this reversal would constitute a material misstatement, likely leading to a qualified or even adverse audit opinion, depending on the materiality of this item. Ladies and gentlemen, the kind of reversal they are talking about is that now that these people have paid their creditors in 2023, they would want you to assume like they paid these people in 2022. Yeah, so we pass a journal from 2023, and then we have this journal taken over in 20. That will be so wrong. You will be misrepresenting facts in terms of what? Yeah, in terms of the cash that was available by then. Because that would mean automatically that the cash which is there was really overstated. Yeah, that cash had not been, it wasn't even there. These guys had to wait for a windy day in January 2023 for them, in this case, yet to pay. So that cash wasn't there. And they don't even want to reflect an overdraft. You know, at times they can tell you, I mean, then let's, but even if they were to allow you to give them that liberty of showing an overdraft in 2022, that is wrong. That cash was not paid in 2022. The liability was owing. If in this case you say it was paid, then the liability in 2022 would be really, really understated, which will be very, very wrong. We should never allow financial misreporting. We have to do financial reporting the way it is. So here, what we should be fighting about with them: are you guys, by the way, is your going concern really there? Why were you not able to pay this money that time? And why were you drawing checks? Yeah, you draw checks so that when you draw checks according to your accounting, you are reducing the amount. But in essence, you haven't given out the checks. So there is a problem there. Great. Great. Good questions there. We shall overcome. Have I ever told you that I examine? You must have been sent by 𝐴𝐶𝐵. This is not a very good person. This is not a very good person. This person must have been sent by 𝐴𝐶𝐵. We shall overcome. What I'm doing here is basically to show you like how easy you will need. You know, you don't need to cram. AA, AAA does not need any cramming. You simply need to know those acronyms, know how to apply them. Yeah. Yeah. Know how to apply them. Those acronyms, once you know all those acronyms, trust you me, you will never ever go wrong. You will never ever go wrong. You'll always acronyms. I'm so sure you must be. I hope you have attended my class for acronyms, like the one of spam soap, a stop, those kind of things. Yeah, the moment you know them, you will never ever go wrong. You will never ever go wrong. So I don't have to be an examiner, but I can, yeah, surface, things like that. ACCA cover P. Yeah, once you go to an exam with that kind of stuff, then you're done. You're done. Handout for the acronyms, I'll be able to give it to you from tomorrow. So then remember these classes for low hanging fruits, we are charging 2,000. There is an offer which you'll need to take advantage of and pay 1,500. And then remember these classes, we normally do them mostly during the day. So now we have a timetable. Now we have a timetable. We shall be able to share that timetable with you. If you are not available during the day, then you watch videos of the same in the evening. In the evening. Otherwise, it has been a pleasure hosting you, and I believe you're not going home empty-handed. Yeah, fortunately for us, we give you what will assist you to do your exams and beyond. And beyond. Because the moment you get out there with this kind of knowledge, you will be able to do quite a lot. Quite a lot. All right. Yeah, you see, like for example, when they are asking you for weaknesses, yeah, of internal controls versus how do you correct them, you are always better off providing a table. You provide a table. You provide a table. Applying has been an issue. No, just be in these low-hanging classes and you'll be able to overcome. All right. So in terms of this, yeah, full stop. Great. Yeah, like full stop. Yes, I see this lady really understands this. We shall overcome. 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 The first S stands for what here? Segregation, isn't it? Segregation of duties, physical controls. We shall talk about them. You guys are also in a hurry. We have a whole month to our exams, isn't it? You guys are in a big, big hurry. A stands for authorizations. You look for authorizations. Yeah, Chief Ninja Sasawa. Thank you so much. So if you are interested in joining these low-hanging fruit classes, our number is 0793 555 0793 555 000 0793 555 000. See you today at 1 p.m. for leadership and management. At 1 p.m. we shall be doing LM. Bye. Bye.